Yo, how's it going? In today's Starfield video, we're going to be looking at our stealth build that I've been running throughout my entire playthrough so far. It has served me very well. I've had very little issues in terms of combat, playing on very hard. Overall, it has allowed me to jump to the higher level planets, the level 70 plus zones very early on, and I was actually able to just crush it in there. So with this build, we're just going to be going over some key skills and all my starting characteristics, all that good stuff, and showing you guys exactly how you can get it done in your own game. Now, before we fully jump into it, I just want to say a huge thank you to Bethesda for sponsoring this video. Starfield is available right now on Xbox and PC, so if you guys go down into the description, I'll have a link there if you guys want to get started. So we're going to start off with our background and traits, just because these are going to be the first options that you get to when making your character and your build. So starting off with the background, I did pick Ronin just so I could get that initial boost to my stealth. Also, you do get the scavenging and also the dueling for your melee. You can use melee with this. That's actually what I started off doing with this setup, but the range ends up being a little bit better later on, but melee is definitely viable early on. But there are other backgrounds you can do. Basically, as long as it either boosts like your guns or your stealth, you're usually going to be good to go. So you guys can change that around at your free will. But otherwise, for the traits, the ones that I really liked, starting off with Wanted, actually, I almost never notice the enemies coming and killing me. Also, if they do, it's just extra loot and more things to kill, but you do get that extra damage as your health is getting low. So if you guys are playing on very hard or something like that, your health can be low fairly often, which is going to help you guys deal extra damage. Now, since this is a stealth build, I do like to run completely alone. I don't run with any sort of companion, so I did pick Introvert. That helps you use less oxygen, which is very helpful. So just getting around different planets when you're by yourself makes it a lot easier, because oxygen can be an issue in this game. And then I did pick Neon Street Rat. This one you can change out for anything else that you guys see fit. If you want the Dream Home or the Adoring Fan, anything like that, you can pick. You can do that at your own discretion. Now for our skills, the big one is going to be our physical skill tree, just because that is obviously where stealth and then concealment are in. These are your big two in this tree, and overall is going to what makes this very strong, because stealth is going to make it so you don't get seen, and then also your concealment is going to make it so you can get the chameleon ability, and also your sneak attacks are going to deal increased damage. So as we are sitting at a distance and hitting enemies with our ranged weapons, it's going to be dealing that 3.5, eventually 4 times damage instead of the additional normal 2. So that's going to help out our damage a ton. But then otherwise, for things in this skill tree, I did just grab weightlifting, wellness, just anything that helps you move down the tree. Martial arts is helpful if you guys plan on doing melee at all. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go into this skill a little bit. And then also rejuvenation is super helpful. It saves you on a ton of med packs. You guys can basically just finish a fight at low health, and by the time you're in the next one, you're good to go. So I do recommend going into this after you do get at least 3 points into concealment. Don't worry about maxing concealment out. That will be just a cherry on top type thing. And then in social, there's not really anything. I just have the base scavenging, and I threw a couple extra points in there. But now for the combat is where you're going to get some extra skills that are really going to help you out. Now, obviously, if you want to do melee focused stealth, do dueling. If you want to do gun focused stealth, do ballistics. And then you can do any sort of specialization type thing if you find a weapon that you really like. I haven't gone into those. Those are really not necessary. My damage is still extremely high right now. And otherwise, marksmanship is a good one, just because you can get that extra critical chance. A lot of your weapons will be non-automatic, which is helpful. Also, you can do the sniper certification, so you can get the extra damage to your scope stuff, which is helpful. A lot of the times we are going to be using a scope since we're sitting at a range. Armor penetration is always really good, just because those enemies with that armor, they take a lot of hits, and this is really going to help you knock down on the number of shots you need. Also sharpshooting once you get there. But the main one in here would really just be ballistics. That's the first one you got to focus on. And then if you want to move over to science and tech stuff, I do recommend. So what I did is I basically did ballistics, but then hardcore focus weapon engineering. Weapon engineering is really going to help out your build, because you're going to be able to make your guns whatever you want essentially, and you can always get silencers on your weapons and you're less at the mercy of RNG, and it's really going to help out your damage because you can add like high powered rounds and all sorts of different things to boost your damage and just make it so you get way more one shot one kills while sitting at a distance in that stealth. So in here, that's what I really do recommend. Everything else you can kind of just grab at your free will, but in the science tree, weapon engineering is going to be your go-to. And then from there is when you can focus more into the combat. And then if you're interested in like the piloting stuff, you can do that. Also security, I do recommend, just so you can get the extra like lock picking and extra loot as you're going through your playthroughs. And then boost pack training, do at least 1 point in here. You want to be able to use the boost packs. It's really going to help out your speeding around the different areas. Don't worry about like upgrading it further. I used it at level 1 for the longest time. Now let's move on over to the fun stuff, which is the weapons. Now I'm just going to get to the melee out of the way first. So if you are interested in the melee portion, the Varun Plane Blade is going to be your go-to. This is going to be the highest damage melee. And also you can get instigating on it, which is going to help you deal double damage to targets full health. So you sneak up behind him, do a heavy attack. You're pretty much always going to die. You're going to deal thousands upon thousands of damage. But now for the actual range stealth stuff, your main weapon that you're going to be using all the time, I use a Beowulf right now, but essentially what you're going to want on here is a lot of range, so like long barrel, a scope, but then obviously a suppressor. That's going to be your like mandatory item. And then once you get like your weapon crafting up, you can add armor piercing rounds, high powered rounds, and basically you're just going to want range that you can spam with a suppressor and you're good to go. So I have Hitman on here. It would be really nice if I had Instigating instead of Space Adept. That would be probably my like perfect purple and legendary. The third one really doesn't matter. But in terms of once you actually do get like found out, or if you can't really utilize stealth in an area, the thing I really like are these Varun weapons. So either the Star Shard or the Inflictor, the Particle Beam Rifle. These two are just my favorite. They do so much damage and it really helps out if you can't really utilize stealth in a certain area. But there's all sorts of other stuff you can use. Silenced pistols work very well with like instigating, anything like that. But usually right now the Varun weapons and the Beowulf are pretty much all I use, and I will show you guys exactly how I utilize these right now. But now let's take a peek on why this build is just so powerful. So to do this, whenever you're in an area where you're going to be attacking enemies, so coming up on like an outpost like this, all you're going to do is go ahead and sit on the outskirts of it. So if you see that dog right there, this is a decent distance and it will do just fine. Or the enemy up there, any of that will work fine. But then once you have the chameleon ability, which will help, and a silencer on your weapon, just go ahead and crouch and we can see exactly what's going on here. If you guys saw my video on how to level up your stealth skills, this is going to look familiar to you. But now we're just going to start shooting this dog, and as we can see, that's a 4.4 multiplier there with my sneak ability. And if I do it again, I still get like that 500 damage. So all of those hits were the sneak attack damage. Same thing for over here. All sneak attacks. Same thing with the guy up here. Sneak attack for 1300 damage. Now the enemies can actually start shooting you, and you can keep that multiplier going even if they're shooting directly at you. Basically all you're going to want to do is make sure your stealth bar at the top just says hidden or caution. Just don't really let it say danger. I have noticed there are times though, even when it says danger, that you can still get to the multipliers to proc. So to demonstrate that really quick, as you can see, I'm getting shot at by these different enemies. I'm not going to get the sneak attack every single time on them, but I did get it on the second shot there. So that's what I was saying. It can be a little weird. Or if the enemies in the distance don't know you're there yet, you can still get the sneak attack on them. Same thing with this turret over here. We'll always get those sneak attacks for like that 500 to 1000 damage depending on the enemy type. But that is seriously just why this build is so strong and why stealth is just overall so strong. It makes all of the content very, very easy. If you guys are having any sort of issues, this will definitely be a build for you. I'm playing on very hard, And even then, these enemies are dying in 1 to 2 shots. But obviously you can't stay in sneak all the time. So once you do get found out and you just want to start running around and clearing a little bit quicker, that's where I pull out like the pistol, or if earlier in my playthrough, I was using a shotgun. Any of those do work very well, and why I do recommend those. But otherwise, just sit at a distance with a scope. I do really recommend a scope on your main like sniping weapon, and then just go to town with your silencer. Now, super quickly, I did just want to go over the powers. They really don't matter too much with this setup. I personally almost always use the sense star stuff. This way I can highlight the enemies through walls and plan out my movements a little bit more carefully so I can maintain stealth. But if you guys don't want to do that, the other one you can do is grab dash. This will help you deal increased damage and move around a little bit quicker. But if you want to use anything else, you can, but I do recommend those two as my personal favorites. I did just want to mention, most of the weapons that you're going to be using, I highly recommend changing them to semi-automatic, or if you don't have your weapon crafting up yet, finding ones that are semi-automatic is going to add a ton of damage. So if we look at the Beowulf that I use here, it's 138 damage as semi-automatic. If I put it to fully automatic, it goes down to 45 damage. And I think the semi-automatic is just so much better, even for close range stuff. It's just so much more ammo efficient. So I almost always make things semi-automatic. The only thing that is not is that Varun pistol that I have. I have it set to burst fire just because its rate of fire is so low, so it helps it out a little bit. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to make a gun semi-automatic. But hopefully that was able to showcase exactly how strong this build can be. Once again, I'm playing on very hard, and all these enemies were dying in like 1 to 2 shots, and I still don't even have the best gear. So if this looks like something interesting to you, I do really recommend it for your playthroughs. But otherwise, once again, thank you to Bethesda for sponsoring this video. So if you guys haven't checked out Starfield yet, make sure you use that link in my description and check that out. But anyways, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a thumbs up on it to let me know. Also consider subscribing for more Starfield content. But anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya.